Welcome to Our Girl Relationships. We talk about the problems people face in their day to day lives. Let's start with the video. My sister and I are twins, but we haven't been that close as some might think. She used to live with my mom, and I lived with my dad after their divorce. She only started living with us when she got into the same college as me, and at that age, we were alienated to the point of no return. And that strangeness only grew more when we both had a crush on the same guy from college. We did try to talk about him a few times because it was a common topic, but it was before we knew one of us had a chance with him. One day, drunk at a party, I decided to take my shot, and surprisingly, we started dating. Since that day, my sister gradually became meaner and meaner towards me. I still remembered how by the last SEM at our college, we were at a point of no talking. I forgot what we were fighting about, but it was something silly at which she got upset. I understand now it was because she was jealous I got the guy we both liked, but at that time, her overreaction seemed insane to me, and I retaliated with equal intensity. Fast forward 3 years. I'm engaged and I was contemplating whether I should invite her to my wedding. I even talked to my dad about it, and he said weddings give us an opportunity to redefine a relationship. He told me how I'll have my own life and would rarely concern myself with my sister or anyone else. So if I want her to be a part of my life in the future, I should invite her because it's a guarantee that we wouldn't talk again if she finds out I'm married and didn't give her an invitation. My issue here was the fact that I was marrying the guy who she liked, so I decided to leave the ball in her court. I sent out an invitation and it was on her to accept or ignore it. I was surprised to see that she ended up coming and even offered to help me out with preparations if I needed a hand. I told her that everything is done and there's nothing much left, so she should just relax until the day. I couldn't have imagined that she was actually here to ruin my life. On the morning of my wedding day, she told me she needed to show me something, so I followed her into the basement of our dad's house. We were getting married in my hometown and were staying here. Everyone was already at the venue, and my dad was in charge of checking up on the last-minute count to make sure nothing was amiss. My twin and I were the only ones at the house, and she locked the door of the basement behind me. I was panicked and scared and told her this isn't the time to joke around, but she said that she isn't doing anything wrong. She said she's taking her rightful place and she should have been the one to date my fiancé from the beginning. She said that this wedding gave her an opportunity to get the life she always wanted and she isn't going to miss it. At this point, I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. What she was saying sounded ridiculous and something out of a budget production of Mean Girls, but in the 70s era. Did she really think that it would be that easy for her to steal my identity? Granted, we look exactly the same, and most of our habits are the same too. But no way could she pass off as me in front of my husband. So instead of panicking, I decided to look for a way out and trust that someone would come over to help after figuring out the truth. Now, I don't know the full picture of what happened afterwards, and this is something my fiancé told me, but he wasn't able to recognize her when she walked down the aisle first. Things went downhill when my grandmother, who was at the wedding, recognized the wedding dress and called 911. For context, the wedding dress I chose was my grandmother's dress. I saw it a long time ago, but when I asked her if I could borrow the dress, she refused, saying she never trusted my mom with it, and there's no way she'd trust me. But it was the dress, and I really wanted to wear it, so I sneaked out the dress and got it altered to my size. The changes were reversible and there was no permanent damage, so I figured I'd return the dress after the wedding. Also, I got frills and mesh added to it, so it didn't look exactly like her dress. I was going to tell Grandma I got one custom made and my fiancé was in on it with me. We had a whole backstory, but of course my twin had no idea. So she couldn't lie effortlessly, and my grandma got so upset that she filed charges of theft against her, and now she's in jail. My fiancé figured out that it wasn't me when she couldn't match his backstory. He said he whispered our inside joke to her, but she didn't get it. And that's how he figured out she was my twin sister and not me. Later in the evening, my dad came over to the house with my fiancé, and when they let me out of the basement, I was so angry and scared all day that my brain was exhausted, and all I wanted was to give in to my violent urges. When I asked them where the bitch was, they said she's in jail. Thankfully, I didn't spill the truth of our identity switch and found out she's in jail, so I could assess the situation and work accordingly. It's been 2 days since then, and I'm staying in my twin sister's bedroom while my fiancé is staying in mine. I would have happily cleared everything up, but seeing how the situation has escalated, I think it's just karma. She tried to ruin my life, but instead ended up ruining her own, and I don't want to correct this mistake until my grandmother listens to my father and drops the charges. Am I the a-hole here for looking out for myself and watching from the sidelines while the universe takes my revenge for my sister for me? So my dad tried to talk to my grandmother, but she was refusing to listen to anyone. She said that she wouldn't allow a thief to walk free, especially when they ruined her wedding dress. It's understandable that she'd be attached to the dress, so I went over and told her I'd get it fixed. She doubted me and said I'm just trying to steal it too, but I reassured her and even offered to take her with me to the stylist who'd be able to restore the dress to its original state. After contemplating what I'm saying, she must have decided to trust me because she gave me the dress and said if I don't return it within a week, she'll send me to prison too. Not gonna lie, I was feeling guilty for fooling her a second time, but at least this time I was doing something she'd be happy about. So I got the stylist who worked on the dress to reverse it back to its original state and took it back to my grandmother. She was really happy, and seeing her in a good mood, I finally approached the subject of the charges she pressed. I told her that now she has the dress back and that my sister is really sorry for what she did, so she should drop the charges. My grandmother didn't go batshit crazy again, so that was a good sign, but she still refused. And I'm sure if I kept at it, I'd be able to convince her. For people saying why I would get my sister released from prison, well, it's more like I'm looking out for myself. She tried to steal my identity and did something really bad, and the only reason she isn't telling that to the authorities is probably because she knows impersonation can land you in deeper waters than the theft of a family wedding dress would. But it's not that hard for the cops to figure out who the real twin sister is once they start interrogation, so I wanted her out of there as soon as possible. If the cops find out about our switched identity, I might get in trouble too. So my grandmother finally took back the charges and my sister got out. I went to pick her up because I wanted to clear out our current situation with her. I told her that she's lucky I talked to Grandma, otherwise she'd still be in jail, and asked her to leave our dad's house without saying anything about how she locked me in the basement and tried to take my place. I told her if she ever decides to spill the beans, I'd actually report her for identity theft. And no one would convince me to let her walk free. I also made sure she knows that it's much more important for me to see her suffer for what she did to me than protecting my own life. So if I had to go down while taking her down, I'd happily do that. She sneered at me but nodded, saying she didn't know I was a petty criminal. She said I always came across as the model woman who never did anything wrong, and she didn't think I had the balls to pull anything this shady. She said the whole thing was messed up, and she doesn't want anything to do with me anymore. I still think she hasn't given up on my fiancé, but I'm hoping she won't try to pull something like that again. After 8 months of waiting, I'm married now. We had to wait a long time to save wedding funds, but finally, with my dad's help, I was able to get married. I did not invite my sister this time, and a lot of my family didn't come after what a disaster the last one was. Of course, the respect they had for me went down the drain when they got to know the truth about my dress, but even I can't have everything. I just came here to update about me finally getting married, as it was a huge thing. YTA, you took an old lady's dress and tried to change it? You knew your twin liked the guy and still went after him? I think you're the classic mean girl here, and both of you are a-holes. EAH. What kind of crazy is going on in this family? Both twins need to have a reality check and learn what being human and kind actually means. Sounds like this is the daily life of a spoiled 1% population that no one can relate to. I'm a 17-year-old female. My parents are divorced, and I spend 50-50 with each parent. To be honest, going to my mom's is awful. She has a stepdaughter, 17, female, that I don't like because she's always stealing my clothes and wearing my jewelry. I've done everything I can to make her stop, including talking to my parents. But she refuses to listen. It's gotten to the point that I hardly keep valuable stuff or clothes, jewelry I like at my mom's. My stepsister has a dinner with her boyfriend's parents yesterday, and I also had planned a little date with my boyfriend today. Because of that, I bought a cute dress that my mom bought me a while ago, shoes, makeup, and a few pieces of jewelry, and kept them in my bag. She spent all morning getting dressed up and ready. My mom and I saw her getting in 3 to 4 outfits until she says she's leaving. I looked at her and she's wearing my dress. I asked what she was wearing, and she says that nothing she had was cute and she found this dress in my room. I say, no, you snooped around my things and found that dress in my bag. Take it off. She says she's already running late and can't do. But I put myself in front of the door and tell her to go change. That's when I notice she's also wearing my necklace and a ring. I explode. I yell at her. Take off my stuff, you frickin' thief. I'll call my mom. That's mine. Take it off. She starts to cry, and my mom asks her to go change and give me my things back. And she yells she's running late and blah, blah, blah. But I don't care, and I don't move. She goes back to her room and changes, then throws me my stuff back and storms off. My mom said that what I did was not nice and that I shouldn't have called her a thief, and when she's about to berate me, I just cut her off and ask her to let me call my dad so he can also hear how she's going to give a talk because I didn't let her lovely daughter steal my stuff. She sent me to my room and I heard her and my stepdad fight at night. My dad's on my side, but both my mom and her husband agree that I was an AH. And a friend of mine thinks I shouldn't have made my stepsister change when she was already late. I'm about to go out and I'm definitely wearing the dress and the rest of my stuff. Take your valuables to your dad's and don't leave something you don't want her to touch in her reach. I had to get a lockbox that only I had the combo for to keep unwanted hands out of my stuff. But you're also 17 and do not have to continue to go to your mom's if you don't want to. Judges take that kind of thing into consideration. NTA, even if the dress had just been laying around, she knew it wasn't hers to take or wear. But to break into your bags is next level. You are old enough to choose who you live with and have any court sign-off on it. Time to tell your mom you want to live with your dad full-time and she can visit you for a change. I'm 28 male, and my now ex-girlfriend, 31, her dad and I were on vacation together in Europe. She's from South America and her dad was visiting, so she organized this trip for him and I joined. Most of transports and accommodations were organized by her. We rented an Airbnb in Rome and were scheduled to arrive at 11 p.m. at the airport. 2 days earlier, I noticed that the host texted her when we will arrive, but she hadn't replied yet. Our schedule was saved for weeks already, so I was surprised that she hadn't texted the host, our ETA, yet. I asked and reminded her multiple times to please fix check-ins with our host. Airplane was 30 minutes delayed, and when we got there at 11:30, also no trains were driving from the airport for some reason. We were walking a lot back and forth until we got a bus stop. Now our host contacted me if we arrived. I told her about the situation with the trains and directly told her we will probably not arrive before 2. She directly told me that this is too late and we need to take a taxi because there is a limit and regular late check-in is only until midnight. The host doesn't live in the area. Late check-in already came with a fee. I told my girlfriend, but she said she's texting with our host and they have an agreement now and everything is fine. We bought bus tickets and our ETA was exactly 2 a.m. I was asking my girlfriend again what they agreed on, since they definitely told me 2 is too late. She then agreed to take a taxi at 12:45. At the taxi stand, I again pressed her to tell me what she agreed on with our host. Then she said that they agreed now for check-in until 1. Earliest time we could make with taxi was 1:30 though. I was super exhausted from the day and all the back and forth, plus in physical pain due to medical conditions, plus took a strong sleeping pill at around 11. I was overwhelmed and shouted, "In no world can we make it there at 1. Stop making us run in circles and wake up to reality. We should have taken a taxi an hour ago. If you and your dad wouldn't be too cheap." At least this solved the situation. My girlfriend texted the host, "We will not make it and stay somewhere else." We then took the bus and stayed at a hotel closer to the city center. Our host was a woman in her 20s with a little boy. She felt bad that we had to sleep somewhere else and gave us a bottle of wine. When she saw my girlfriend's elderly dad, she started to cry and apologized many, many times. She later even gave us a full refund of the night. I felt awful for our host. The situation was, in my eyes, 100% my girlfriend's fault. She cannot just assume that we can check in at night without clarifying before and could have done so weeks in advance. She kept our host hanging when it was completely clear from the get-go that our ETA is 2. This poor mother got guilted out of her money on top of the unpaid overtime work she did the night before. I think my girlfriend for Airbnb works like a hotel. 2 a.m., not p.m., obviously, middle of the night. Many people were saying that I wouldn't pay anything. All of the trip's costs were evenly divided by 3. Many of the flights and stay were booked and paid upfront by me since my girlfriend didn't have a credit card. The taxi would have been split by 3 as well. I don't know, it seems like a lot went wrong here. If this had been planned for weeks, why didn't you figure out the late check-in problem long before you arrived? Why even choose a flight that didn't arrive until 11 p.m.? And if you were so obsessed with this, why didn't you handle it and contact the host instead of pestering your girlfriend about it? Why did you take a strong sleeping pill when you were nowhere near your accommodations for the night? YTA. She organized this trip for him and I joined. Most of transports and accommodations were organized by her. So she's done most of the legwork. Airplane was 30 minutes delayed, and when we got there at 11:30, also no trains were driving from the airport for some reason. The situation was, in my eyes, 100% my girlfriend's fault. How? Did she hide the pilot's plane keys? Did she get all the train staff to go on strike? Delays happen and it sucks. Your girlfriend got the timing wrong, yes, but that doesn't make it 100% her fault. It was a shitty situation and yelling at her wasn't on. Insulting her and her dad by calling them cheap I don't see where you offered to front the cost of a taxi, nor do I see where you refused to accept the refund. Yes, your girlfriend got some things wrong. Absolutely. But 100% her fault? Nope. And clearly the Airbnb host also feels she was at fault or she'd not have given you wine and a refund. YTA for a lot of reasons, but this one is important going forward. You shouldn't scream at people in public because it makes a weird situation for everyone involved around you. You need to learn how to communicate in future relationships because this whole thing may not have been your fault, but you need to take responsibility also. You knew that you couldn't check in that late. You were talking to the Airbnb lady yourself. Why at that point did you let your girlfriend go through everything? It really seems that you just wanted to be right in the moment and she didn't handle the situation very well either. But you knew it wasn't going to work and let it happen just so you could be right. This also doesn't seem like that big of a deal considering you found another place to stay and had the night at the Airbnb refunded. I think you owe her an apology.